Hey guys, welcome to The Teacher and Me. My name is Laura, and so today I want to talk a little bit about women. My crown is coming off. That's why I'm wearing a crown today. It's not my birthday. Even though my birthday, I do wear a crown. So this month is Women History Month, and I wanted to acknowledge that because there's so many women in history who, because of them, we are where we are now. In the background, I have my Disney princesses because I am obsessed with Disney princesses. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the Disney princesses, and I'm going to talk about actual people in history. Now, Disney princesses acknowledge women for braveness, for strength, for smartness, for so many things. And they actually have a Disney princess who is an actual character in an actual person, Pocahontas. Even though Pocahontas' story is way different than the movie, because in the movie, interesting fact, did you know Pocahontas is actually around the age of 10 or 11, really young, and John Smith was a real character, but John Smith does not marry or fall in love with her. John Smith, she does end up saving, and does go in front of him so he won't die, and that part is correct. I feel like they made the second movie so they can make it more correct. But her story is totally different, and the movie really Hollywoods it, I guess you could say. But besides Pocahontas, one of my favorite Disney princesses, and people always fight with me saying that that's not a Disney princess, but they consider her a Disney princess, so because they consider her a Disney princess, I consider her a Disney princess. And if you don't already know who I'm talking about, I am talking about Mulan. I love Mulan. I love her. The movie, the idea of the movie, I love the song, the music, everything. I love Mulan. The movie, I can watch it 100 times. I have watched it more than 20 times at least. Watched it millions of times. Now, Mulan, her story is to follow your heart. You know, she was considered unhonorable to her family because she was following her heart. Her heart was telling her one thing, but everyone was telling her she has to be this way. But that wasn't who she was. And people didn't understand that until she ends up doing this. And it also teaches people to listen to women. Just because they're a woman doesn't mean you should not recognize them as a woman. And you realize that when later on in the movie, I'm sorry, spoiler alert! Later on in the movie, they find out, by the way, let me tell you basis. Her father's about to go to war. And she's scared for him because he's already in pain. He's already served in war. And he's not in war because he had an injury. And she was like, no, father, I don't want you to do this. And she ends up pretending to be a guy and joining war. She cuts her hair, tapes her chest down, dresses like a guy, tries to talk like a guy. And they end up finding out later on that she is not a guy, but is a girl. And later on, she tries to help them as Mulan and not as the character she picked, which is Ling, I think. Ling or Ping? Ling? No. Yeah. And she ends up Ping? Oh my gosh, it's gonna annoy me that I don't remember. I love this movie, yet I don't remember her guy name. So, anyway, she ends up helping out people in she goes there and no one's listening to her because she's a woman again. And she doesn't have the same authority as she was when she was a man. And the ending, you realize that people should have listened to her even though she was a woman. And she ends up saving all of China. Her story is amazing, as much as, even if it's not real or, it's a very interesting story. One of my favorite movies. And then there's so many other princesses. Brave, which is about Merida, and she just had to learn to breathe and had to her story was really cool because she didn't need a guy to rely on. A lot of them didn't. Neither did Mulan. She didn't need a guy to rely on, and a lot of times people put in our head that we always need a guy to rely on, and she made it girl power. You know, a lot of these princesses are definitely girl power. Another big one that's a big giant girl power is Frozen. These girls are like was like a huge hit for Disney, and they apparently changed history for movies of girl princesses because not only do they not rely on a guy saving them. I mean, they had Kristoff, but she basically was the one saving her sister. But they rely on each other, and she's considered the queen, and she's the princess. She's the one who doesn't need a man, and she realizes she doesn't need a man, and her true love was actually her sister in the end, not Kristoff, which everyone thought Kristoff was. I mean, she ends up with Kristoff, but it wasn't her true love, really. It was her sister in the end. Love this movie to death, also. And there's so many other movies, with these women who are very powerful, very strong, and great. Now I want to talk about real women in history, and I want to go straight into the Bible. That's why I'm wearing a God shirt. It's kind of backwards because of the computer that I'm using to record, and it's kind of sad. So anyway, one person in the Bible that I really want to recognize is Esther. Who is Esther? Well, she was a queen, of course. She was an amazing queen. She's my favorite person in the Bible because what she did for her people were amazing. First of all, her name wasn't even Esther. Her name was Hadassah. And her uncle was telling her that her people were about to go and get killed, basically. And that was very scary for her. And she didn't know what to do. She had to trust God. She ends up changing her name to Esther. So her name was Hadassah, and then she changed it to Esther. And she ends up going. And back then, the king didn't marry for love. I don't think kings ever did until like later on in life. But the king basically wanted her to have her as something to show off. He had a wife, and she didn't want to get showed off. And so he kicked her out the house and was like, goodbye then. So Esther was chosen to get shown off. She was beautiful and everything. Like, she even, when they had like a competition to see who was the best looking woman, he would choose which one he wanted. She asked the maids, what does the king like? Where other ladies were like, oh, what am I gonna wear? She asked the ladies what he wants. And she ends up dressing up exactly, looking and smelling just like the king would want her to smell or look. And then later on, the lovely, she had a big task, and that was to tell the king, hey king, you're killing my people. Not only was that a big issue because all she was the king's trophy, but back then you were not allowed to go to the king and talk to him unless he invites you. And guess what? She didn't get invited to talk to him. Big no-no. She had to have bravery to go talk to the king, to tell the king what happened. And she did. And ends up saving her people, which are the Jews. I love her story. I love her. I think she is one of the top favorite people in the Bible. Then there is Ruth. Wait, no, not Ruth. I'm sorry. Ruth is a very important person in the Bible. She is up there for. I don't want to talk about her. It was, oh my goodness, Rahab. Rahab is, oh my gosh, is a very interesting story. Now, who's ever heard of the Wall of Jericho? Now, when the thing is, there's Israelites were there, and they had to sneak around to see if they could save or help anyone or to see what was going on inside of Jericho, because they were going to knock down Jericho because Jericho is in the way of God's promise. And they go in and they look around and they're sneaking around, and this lady, Rahab, I think I'm saying her name wrong, and if I am, I'm so sorry. She ends up helping them. Now, back then, she was considered a harlot, I think is the word. So, yeah, but she still helped them. And back then, she had a red scarf, and the red scarf was kind of her way of, what's it called? Kind of her way of saying, I'm open. And she basically helps them and hides them from the people who are chasing them in Jericho. And because of that, they tell her later on that because of what you did, we'll help you in the end. And they end up saving her. So when all of Jericho goes down eventually, she ends up getting saved. She's an awesome character, and I love her story. Her story is very powerful because she helped these people. She could have gotten so much trouble. Already being a harlot, you're looked upon nasty, disgusting. Imagine they found her with these guys in her house, hiding them. Holy Toledo. She would have, you know what I mean? It would have been worse. It would have been terrible. She probably got tortured. Back then, stoning was huge. And even though they had a lot of harlots around. Alright, another person I want to talk about is Mary. The Mary who gave birth to Jesus. Virgin Mary. Wow. Well, one, imagine God going up, sending an angel to you, and you never had sex, you're a virgin. You probably have, I don't even think she's ever even got kissed by a guy. She's really young also. Her parents are looking for a suitor to, I guess it's a suitor, that's the word. Someone to marry her, and someone comes up to her, an angel comes up to you and be like, hey, you're gonna get pregnant with Jesus, and he's gonna be the son of all, and, change all of America, all of history. That's a scary thing, so Mary ends up, she says, let it happen to her. And back then, getting pregnant without wedlock was a no. You think being a harlot was looked upon badly? If you weren't a harlot and you were just a regular, normal girl who was pregnant, stoning was, again, I said stoning. They would stone her to death. Imagine how scared she was. And she allowed it to happen. And God helped her through it because, she was carrying her son, and she was willing to carry Jesus' son, And eventually, God ends up talking to Joseph about it because Joseph was supposed to marry her. It's like, hey, Joseph, the girl you're about to marry is pregnant, and it's not your child. Think about this for a second. You thinking? And he helps her. What? He helps the lady who's pregnant with not his child. Because he knew the amazingness that was going to come out, And obviously she wasn't killed or stoned. I mean, she died eventually later on in life, but she didn't die because she was pregnant. She died because I don't really know how she died. But it was later on, later on. And then there's another Mary. I think her name is Mary. She's also around Jesus' time, and she's about Jesus' age. I think. Her thing was, Jesus was at a dinner. Now, back then, they walked for hours. They had sandals. on, and their feet were dirty. And he goes to the house, and back then it was considered like manners and like good to for someone to clean your feet with water and soap and dry it. She comes to Jesus, and I believe she was also a harlot. I could be wrong. Do not quiz me on that. And she wants forgiveness for everything, and she just starts praising him. Basically, she comes to him, and they didn't wash his feet there, and she takes her tears and starts crying out to him, and she cries and washes her feet with her tears and takes her hair and dries her feet with her hair, and then ends up pouring perfume. Now, perfume she puts on him is super expensive perfume, and she poured that on his feet. She ends up, and people are looking at Jesus like, why are you letting this lady who's worth nothing do this to you? Oh, and he was like, why are you looking at her like that? Jesus saw the love she had. Jesus saw the inside of her. And this is how Jesus sees everyone. No matter your outside, he looks at the inside, and he knows your inside. And Jesus loves you inside and out, even if your inside is not the best right now. And there's so many other people in the Bible that are women that change history and are amazing to our history. You know, I love learning about women power. I love learning about that. Now I want to get a little bit, I want to recognize people now who I feel will change history. People who are probably not known unless you meet them. Who has changed my history. Who has helped me to become a better woman. I feel like being women history, I feel like these women could be recognized in the future. Just as I feel like I want to be recognized in the future. I want to be a part of women history, and I think that these ladies nowadays should be recognized. They're still alive, and you know they're like really close to me and really family, and always been there for me. Well, one of them actually passed away. I'm gonna do her first because she has passed away. Her name is Laura, also as my name. She was my grandmother. I didn't know her. I mean, I knew her. I knew her very well, but she died when I was really young, when I was only in middle school, and I wish she was still alive. But she changed my life. She was a very strong lady, and I want to be a very strong lady. I want to be able to not take garbage from people, and she didn't allow people to walk all over her. And she, oh my God, I love her. I'm happy she's in heaven right now. Another lady is my mother. Oh my gosh. My mother is one of the most strongest ladies I've ever met. When she was, a lot happened when I was in middle school. Middle school, I was really getting to know myself. And my mother, she had cancer. And my mom, she doesn't like crying in front of me because she just didn't want to show that side of her. You know, she was always a positive, outgoing girl, you know, very persuasive. You know, she was one of the, I think, first in her house to move out, to get married, or at least just move out, go to college, finish college, you know, out of her family. Like, she was one of the first. And through life, she worked her hardest to get where she is, you know. And this cancer thing, it really freaked me out because I still needed her. And I thought she was going to be a goner. And she got through it, and they found the cancer right away. And because they found it, she's no longer has it anymore. And, you know, she's healed, she's better. I mean, she still has her days where she's in pain, but that's okay because she's okay. And even though she's in pain, she doesn't show it. Or she walks through it and she keeps going through it, you know. And she taught me that sometimes you have to cry, but sometimes you gotta smile. You know, you gotta get through it. You know, she introduced me to persevering, and I love her for that. Another person is Candy. Her name is Candy. She was the mother of my pastor. Pastor Candy is also what we call her, but I love her. She was always tough on me, always. When I was really young to now. She knew me since I was like, what, 4? You know, she was one of those ladies, like those old-fashioned ladies, you know, who were so strict, but who, no matter who you were, she treated you exactly the same, you know, and she always, if, you know, let's say someone left the church, she'll still be reaching out to them. Let's say someone's going through something, you know, she'll still reach out to them. She was always had her arms open and showed love in so many ways. And even though she was tough on me, because of her toughness, it's changed me. Then there's Rebecca. She's also a pastor in our church. She's now the leader of the worship team, and she has an amazing voice. You know, she's just really amazing, and also very loving. Then another woman is Felicia, who is the pastor's wife. I love her. You know, she was also very strict with me and Melissa, who is my best friend, my childhood friend. You know, my childhood best friend, and she was always on top of me also with everything. You know, whatever I did, she was like, Laura, you know. And she also cared about me, and she was always loving and, you know, also, you know, a great person to talk to. And she looked at reality where people always looked at the fantasy, but, you know, she brought up reality to people and was like, what? And then there's Cynthia, or Sid. I call her Sid. A lot of people don't call her Sid. I call her Sid. I love her also so much. Also very strict. This is the pastor's sister. Wow, she knew me for years. Also, she's very loving. You know, she has an amazing heart, and her kids, all 3 of them, they grew up super smart, and she likes, you know, she pushes people to do their best, and I feel like that's what she did for her first son, and now what she's doing for her kids. And I like to look at that, you know, to push people to do their best, you know. Yeah, they're doing good now, but they could do better. There's always a better, and I feel like that's what she saw in people. Then there is Vanessa. I love her also. She's in charge of the children's ministry in our church. And she encourages people to also do their best. She sees potential in these kids, you know. She's having these kids help out in the children's ministry, you know, the older kids who are just turning 12 to work as the teachers, as one of the teacher's helpers, which is amazing because that's how you start them out, you know, start them, you know, let them learn, and they are learning, you know, and she saw potential in these kids. I definitely want to honor also my grandmother, my abuela, my Spanish grandma. My the other Laura was she was Italian and Portuguese. My other one, but this is my Hispanic one, my Puerto Rican grandmother, abuela. I would not say her name. I was taught not to call her by her name. I know her name, but I'm just gonna say Abuela. I love her. I love her to death. She's also a very strong lady. Also, just like my mother, she's always on the go. She keeps going. She keeps moving forward. She's in pain. She'll keep walking. She has a huge faith in God. She's always praying to God. She loves God. And like the whole neighborhood knows her because she walks around everywhere. She is she is an amazing grandma. I love her so much. Then there's so many other women that I could recognize, and I don't know if they'll ever see this video, whoever I just recognized. There's so many other women out there, and I'm not just going to not say you guys because, I don't believe it. But I feel like, there's so many more that I could say, but right now, I'm not. I just want to say thank you to all the people I mentioned, and to all the people who are still encouraging me. There's a lot of women, also in my school, who helped me. My senior year of elementary school, I had a teacher in 5th grade. Then in middle school, I had a teacher who I really, my senior year, she really helped me. And then high school, I had this one teacher. Again, I'm not gonna say because they're teachers, and I'm not sure if they want me to specifically say who they are. Who really got me through it. They affected me so much that I actually wrote a paper about them. And other ladies, what you can do for being recognized now to becoming a woman in history. Encourage other women. Women power, yes. Just because you're a girl, there's this thing I saw, and it was just like, why should we try to be equal to men when we are so much awesomer than men with certain things? We're strong. We're stronger than we think. I mean, hello, we go through our periods, and I know that sounds really nasty to hear, but we gotta hold the child in us, There's more to us than that. We make a house, a motherly touch. You ever heard of that? Not called a fatherly touch, it's called a motherly touch. And don't get me wrong, men, you're amazing too, clap to you. But women, we're princesses. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone, just respect the women out there. Thank you guys. I think this is one of my longest videos, but I really had a lot to say. If you guys liked it, please give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. And subscribe. Please subscribe. I really, really, really need you to subscribe. I'm really trying. Oh, one more person. Ellen DeGeneres is one of my favorite women nowadays in history too, because her shows are amazing and she really does help people. And I always want to be on the Ellen DeGeneres show. So yeah, another reason why I want to really become famous. I mean, I shouldn't be saying that out loud, but whatever. Alright, love you all. Jesus loves you. You are beautiful and wonderfully made. Bye.